So, welcome to the demonstration build of the classic Revision 4 Nixie clock kit. In this step we're going to be building the low voltage circuit, and to do that we're going to be using a UF4007, a 100 nanofarad capacitor, a 10 volt 220 microfarad capacitor, a 16 volt 220 microfarad capacitor, a 7805 linear regulator, a 3K resistor, an LED, and the header strip. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount these components on the board, and I'll talk you through it as we go. This is a very traditional voltage regulator circuit, and it takes the input voltage, which in our case can be 9 volts or possibly 12. 9 is better. 12 tends to stress the regulator a bit, and it converts it down to a stable 5 volts, which the rest of the circuitry can use. To be doing the build, I'm going to be using some thin solder, 0.6mm solder, and a standard, let me clean it, a standard conical tip soldering iron bit. So, the best way of going about this is starting from the top and going to the bottom. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the D1 4007. We just bend the leads and we put this in the space which is there for D1. And we solder it. And I always like to trim off the leads as soon as we have done the work. So, next comes the 100 nanofarad capacitor C2. And here we need to bend the leads in a little bit and put it into the space which is C2. And again, a little solder. And trim. So next, C4. Now don't mix up C4 and C9. C4 is the 10 volt one, which is smaller. And note, so C4 goes down here, and on the board we've got a very clear white stripe. That white stripe must match up with the white stripe on the capacitor itself. So we put that in, and I bend one lead to keep it in place, and we solder the other. Now that's sitting a little bit off the board, so I'm going to just reheat it to make it sit down straight. Then bend back the other lead. There are other people who have other ways of doing this, so for example blue tack is a good way. Tape I'll be using later for some other things. But I like it quick and easy. Now again, 220 microfarad 16 volt, the white stripe must go to the white stripe. So the white stripes are like that. It's sitting up a bit, so I'm going to make it sit down. And solder the other lead and trim up. Next I'm going to put in the 3K resistor. So the color code of the 3K resistor is orange, black, red, gold. And this goes in the position R8, which goes next to the LED. So we bend one lead down, around, and we put the body where the large circle is. Solder one lead, check it that it's sitting down nicely, it is. Solder the other lead. Let's put the LED in next. Now the LED has one long leg and one short leg. and the short leg has a flat on it, and that is marked with a flat on the board. So the short lead goes where the flat is, and that's next to the diode. So look, there we go, it's putting it in there. And for this, I don't like to put LEDs too close to the board, so I leave some room underneath them, and then we're going to solder it. Trim up. Notice that the snippers are precision electronic snippers. Now we can put in the 7805. The reason I didn't put it in beforehand is it gets in the way of the other ones. And 7805 goes in the IC1 position, which is this position here, and it goes with the metal tab facing like the metal tab on the board, so towards the outside of the board. I just push this, put this in. I'll solder one lead, make sure that it's taken it, and then we can solder the other two leads. And we trim up. One final component to go, and that is the header strip, which goes in here. Now this is a bit tricky to do, so I'm going to take some tape, just a bit of tape, and I'm going to stick it in place while I solder it. Maybe you can't see that very well, but it's just enough to hold it. And I'm trying to get the bit of tape out of the way so you can see. Bend the solder. Just enough to hold it while I solder the first pin. And then we can check if that's upright, if that's in a good position. And just refloat it to make sure it's leaning over a bit, so I'm going to adjust it again. That looks good to me now, and then we can solder the other leads. So that's the low voltage circuit build. Let's give it a test. For that, I'm going to get a meter and some power. So now we're going to put some power onto the center pins of the connectors here. So the power connector is designed in this way. So it has HV out. Well, we don't have any HV yet. Ground is this pin, second pin down, then the V in, and then the regulated VCC out. So with this little connector, black is the ground and red is the VCC in. And I've got a small regulated power supply here. And there immediately we see that we have the light turned on. Let us check the voltage at the test points. So here we have a ground test point and a VCC test point. Let me move the meter in so you can see it. So from ground to VCC, 4.999 volts, and we're done.